The Exorcist Believer is a new horror film in the Exorcist franchise. It is also another requel by David Gordon Green, obviously of the Halloween trilogy, the new one. Um, he directed those movies. So, yeah, if you remember anything about my opinions about those movies, it is way too positive. I like those movies a lot more than I really should. I think that I don't know. They just have this quality to them that really makes it feel like Halloween, and it's gonna be kind of weird not having one this year because I don't know. Having them back to back like Halloween Kills into Halloween Ends. Yeah, I don't know. They're not good movies. Like I can't say objectively that they're good, but I liked watching them. If that makes any sense. So with The Exorcist Believer, the first trailer that came out did not impress me whatsoever. Like I really was not on board with this movie. But then the second one dropped, and I actually started to get more and more excited. It looked a lot more interesting. It looked more. It looked like it was taking itself a lot more seriously than the Halloween movies really did. Um, I don't know, and like visually it looked pretty cool. The movie seemed like it was heading in the right direction, and by the time it came out, I was pretty excited for it. So, with The Exorcist Believer, I there's two ways I'm torn with this movie. One, it sucks. The Exorcist Believer is just as bad as everybody's saying it is. It is woefully underwritten. They kind of lose track of where they are in the story like three different times. The designs of the girls who are possessed are terrible. They just give them really large foreheads, and like that's kind of it. They're just like, oh, look, they have big foreheads. Woo, they're scary. And I was like, real? That's it? That's all you're gonna do for that? Really? And there's just so many frustrating elements about this movie. But on the other hand, it is one of the most unintentionally funny horror movies that could come out, and are really movies in general to come out in 2023. This movie was hilarious. I was laughing pretty much like after the first act, which is pretty painful to sit through. This movie starts to get really funny, and I was having a great time. So like, there's that enjoyment quality of this movie. Like, I have to give merit to it for at least not being boring. This is not a boring movie at all. Like, this is a movie you go to see with your friends and just like die laughing because this movie is so funny. Cameron over there, who's actually on a Zoom right now, called it best. She wasn't even scared of the movie, and she was laughing at it. And if you know anything about Cam, she is deathly afraid of most things. So, yeah. If your movie's not scary enough to scare Cam, then it's probably not even remotely scary. Which is, I don't normally like to take points off for that, but yeah, this movie had zero tension, zero thrill to it. It had no sense of like bite. There was no real danger in this movie. It just was there. Like this. Oh, these girls are possessed. Oh, we're gonna save them now. Oh, now this happens, and it's this. So a lot of this movie is recycling the same old tropes of other possession movies. I mean, I feel like I have watched 3 million possession movies this year. I am so sick of them. And they run those cliches straight into the ground. And again, to a point to where it circles back around to being funny. So yeah, that's I'm trying to think of more I have to say about The Exorcist Believer, because I really don't. Visually is kind of cool. I've always really liked David Gordon Green's visual style. I think it matches the kind of late 70s, early 80s aesthetic that he's kind of going for. That works. I think that there's a sequence towards the end that I'm not going to spoil. That was pretty it wasn't scary, but it was pretty cool. And that's all I got. Yeah, this movie is very funny. Laughably misguided in most places, and it is an overall not great experience. So, I would maybe recommend to go see it just to laugh at it, but even then, it might not be worth that. So, Um, yeah, I think I'm done with this one. I'm gonna give Exorcist Believer a C minus, a very light C minus. That's like teetering on a D plus, just because of how much fun I had while watching this thing. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the Exorcist Believer. And at the end of this video, I'm gonna give you a little extra review for Saw X. I saw Saw X as well um, last week. Last Thursday, I think it was. Wednesday. When did we see Saw X? Wednesday or Thursday? Wednesday, right? Wednesday. Yeah, we saw it Wednesday. Um, so I am not the biggest Saw fan in the world. I like the Saw movies for the most part. They're fun. I haven't seen all of them. I've seen 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and Spiral. I have not seen Jigsaw. I have not seen Saw 4. I think those are the only two I haven't seen. Anyway, I don't know. They're very hit or miss, and when they hit, I'm pretty into them, and they're fun, and they kind of again embody the spirit of Halloween. But when they don't, they really suck. So I had no expectations going into this movie other than I thought the poster was one of the coolest things I have ever seen. That poster is phenomenal. Easily the best Saw Like I've always really liked the Saw posters, but this one's the best, easily. But I heard a lot of buzz around it. A lot of people are loving this thing, so I went into it kind of blind, just being like, all right, let's go see Saw X, kind of off of a whim, and it was really surprising. I ended up really coming around to Saw X. It gave us a story that we don't necessarily get to see that often. We, for some reason, get to see the more human side of John Kramer. We get to see him interact in the real world with real people, and it's one of the first times in the Saw movies where I'm like, that's kind of justified. Like, I don't condone torturing these people whatsoever, but what they are doing and what they are probably going to continue to do if you don't do anything about it is pretty awful. Like this cast of victims that we have in this movie is way more unlikable than any other cast we've really gotten throughout any other Saw movie. For the most part, like barring like sexual predators and that kind of stuff, because we have seen that in the past. But like this is really bad what these people are doing, and like again, like it kind of seems justified, like a little bit. I don't know, and that was a big turning point for me with this movie. I'm like, oh, they actually got me to kind of have a moral conflict here. They got me to, I don't know, they got me hooked with the story and the characters. I really think that this is one of the strongest cast of characters that we've gotten in a Saw movie. Even if some of them are just, cannon fodder for traps, I do think that they add an interesting element to each bit of the story. Yes, it's still Saw, so yes, it's still incredibly corny, but I think it worked for what they were trying to do here. I also really like it visually. It has a lot of callbacks to the 2000s editing style of the original movie, which I really do like a lot. And it transferred that over to like a more modern kind of elevated horror color grading, which I really liked. A lot of the shots were really cool. Tobin Bell was really good in this movie. This is like one of his best Jigsaw performances. And honestly, I think this is probably the best Saw movie? Maybe? Like it might be better than Saw 1. I'm not sure. This was a really, really enjoyable sequel. I really liked how it gave us an interesting moral conflict that was not hard to follow and wasn't trying to be overly ham-fisted and complicate things, because it's Saw. It knew it was Saw, and it gave us a simple but interesting moral conflict at the center, and it was very interesting visually. I do have some issues with it. Amanda's character in this movie, meh. I don't love her whole thing that she's got going on. It kind of doesn't really fit with the rest of the movie. There are parts of the final twist that I found issues with that I didn't really love. But yeah, other than like this movie has its issues. I'm not gonna call it one of the best horror movies we've gotten in years or anything like that. I hate that. I know I always point that out when I talk about movies like this, but I just am trying to say, like, it's a step below something I really want to praise, but it's still pretty good, and you should definitely check it out. So Saw X is going to get a B plus. This was a really solid outing for the Saw franchise, and I'm very glad for diehard Saw fans because it was going in a pretty rough direction ever since like Saw 6. So good on you guys. You got a win here, and I got to watch a pretty good movie. So that is my review for both The Exorcist Believer and Saw X. It's Halloween season. It's October. We're getting Halloween movies, which is really cool. I'm thinking of doing. I know I haven't really done anything in the past for Halloween, but I'm thinking of doing one big thing towards the end of the month. So stay tuned for that. And I think that's all I got for now. So I'll see you guys in the next review.